the Brumbies.
Wow.
Jesus, we're not going to have any listeners left, mate.
I know.
On.
And Harry, yep, good.
I was going to say the main event.
Move to the next slide there. If you haven't been, you can obviously watch this on YouTube, and we've got slides with all the lineups and some hectic illustrations from Nelson. Nels, speaking of you, do you want to take us through the significant ins and outs?
You made this, Nels? I didn't know you made
the
this
Brumbies.
I thought the Brumbies made this one, to be honest. But
look, I mean, Nelson would just take credit for it anyway. You know what I mean? It's fine. So it's a but Nels, with that, can you take us through the ins and outs of the Brums?
It's a bit lower quality than mine, but the significant ins. Look, we've got some big ones here. Ben O'Donnell, Corey Toole, two guys that sevens background, very exciting outside backs. We've also got Jack Debrasini coming back across, apparently as a 10, but obviously we know he can play 15. A very big guy. Had a chance, we think, if he kept his form a few years back, to break into a potential Wallaby squad and faded away before kind of disappearing to New Zealand, and he's back, and hopefully he means business because he's an exciting player. And we've got Tamati Tua as well. He's played a little bit of time for the Blues as an exciting...
He's got, he has 52 caps for Northland? He's 196 centimetres tall and 98 kilos.
Debrasini here.
Tamati Tua.
Oh, what?
Both big boys.
He's a big boy.
He's 196 centimetres. Wow. Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
huge.
He's all of a sudden just shot up Cargie's ranks.
Yeah, that's it. He had a couple of games for the Blues though. He playing at 12.
He did. I think he played 4 games or something, but it was scattered as well. He played 1 game last year and a few back in 2018, I think.
Yeah.
Debrasini's 192 as a fly half as well, so they could just go, shit, let's just make a big team.
Yeah, that's who I thought you were talking about. But yeah,
15 men line out. That's their new tactic.
And also, you said Northland as well, because Debrasini had been playing for Northland over in the NPC. He had that little stint.
They got it going on.
He had a little stint with the Chiefs and things as well. But you're right, cohesion right there. Get him in. And then the outs. Great momentum killer there. I don't know how we did that. But Harry, do you want to take us through the outs?
Yeah, so a huge one. Well, a huge few, to be honest. Scott Seo, weapon. Ray Simone, I think probably the biggest loss to any Australian Super Rugby franchise. Tom Banks, also a reasonably big loss as the Wallabies incumbent, or was. Folau Fainga'a, obviously we've already talked about him tonight, but they have enough depth, thankfully, for that one. And then Rod Iona, the backup 10's gone. Obviously they got depth to cover him, Lockie Albert and Cam Clark. It's a shame to see Cam Clark didn't get more of a chance. Just with that last name, his dad being such a legend of the game. I would have loved to see him have more time, but lots of big losses there, guys. And we'll come to how they're going to cover those, I guess, in our key questions. But there's a lot of experience and quality experience there as well.
Absolutely, and we could have seen a lot more of Cam Clark with the likes of Andy Muirhead starting for the Brumbies. So I mean that's very unfortunate. But let's move on to the best starting 15 for the Brumbies. And when we get to winger, I'll correct you guys later on. But in the tight 5, James Slipper picks himself. Nos Lonergan is going to be our starting hooker, and he's going to be the backup Wallabies hooker come the World Cup. And Alan Alatoa, Capitan, the big dog. That's a pretty formidable front row. And I am so excited to see Nos Lonergan just getting game time. Look, I know he will share it with some of the other guys, but I think primarily, particularly in the World Cup year, he's going to get the shuttle seat. So it would be good. And then in locks, we're going to have Darcy Swain and Nick Frost. And Nick Frost, how good was his Wallabies tour? He's certainly propelled himself right into the picture in either lock or in 6. So hopefully we don't see him getting trialled out at 6 in the Brumbies. But anyway.
I wouldn't mind it. Can I be honest? Imagine a 200 centimetre, pretty bloody quick number 6.
I'm happy with him at lock, to be honest. But,
Same, but geez, 206 centimetre lock. It's number 6.
I think it just depends who else you got at 6. If we're still feeling a bit thin at 6, but I think the Brumbies have the perfect answer for a 6, to be honest.
And that's onto you, Nelson. That's called a segue right there. You just, pick up where he left off.
That was smooth. And it is a man that is also pretty big lock / number 6, and that's Tom Hooper. the number 6. We think he's going to have, well, I think he's going to have a big sort of year ahead of him, a breakout year after doing some really positive things in his chances last year. Pete Samu, yes, we've seen him at 6. Yes, we've seen him at 8, filling the bench, but we think he's got a good shout to get some good game time at the number 7 jersey with Bobby Valentini at number 8. I mean, you could easily see Pete Samu 6 or 8, but it's just that combination that I think these 3 would add together that is a really, really positive thing for the Brumbies. Nick White, Noah Lolosio at 9-10. Not much contention there for me.
Yeah, in the centres, you've got anyone and Len Ikitau. That anyone could be the giant of a human we just talked about, Tamati Tua. I think there's some calls for Ollie Sapsford or Hudson Crichton, I think, is a chance as well. My pick, I'm going to go with Hudson Crichton in the 12 jersey. He did play outside centre for 2 of the 3 games for Australia A, so they obviously see the potential for him as a centre. Can he shift that to the inside centre role? I think he can. I think he's got the ball skills, but it's obviously going to be a little bit different to Ire Simone. As I said, I think it's the biggest hole from any person leaving an Australian Super Rugby side. So that's probably the key question of if they can fill that jersey for the Brumbies being a real contester in the semis and finals this year, to be honest, in my opinion. And then in the outside back, we've got Cargie's favourite, which I'll let him have a rebuttal later, Muirhead, who I think will continue to punch above his weight. Tommy Wright in the right wing, and Jesse Mogg at fullback. But, mate, there's some contest here as well. We'll come to the bench and Cargie's opinions in a second.
Excellent. On the bench, we've got Billy Pollard, pretty handy hooker replacement. And I think we've also still got Connell McInerney around.
No.
So
yeah, we do.
He's there, but no one cares.
And I should say Wallaby, Connell McInerney. So they've got, they've definitely got some depth there, but no, it's the young guns that are shining here. And in the propping replacements, we've got Fred Kahea, Tom Ross, and there's Tom Ross, and I've forgotten the name of the other tight end as well, who's been pretty good. But
Kautai.
Yeah, Kautai, Stefo Kautai. He was really, really good in a couple of games that Alan was injured last year. So
yeah, I think it's going to be pretty close between those two, to be honest.
Yeah, it will for sure. Yeah. So that'll be good. And Nels, do you want to take us through to the locks and back row replacements?
Yeah, we've got, it's no surprise, Caden Neville on the bench for us. He's got to be in the 23, getting some game time.
Or as Harry says it, Catering. Neville.
Yeah, which doesn't even make sense when you read his name, but that's all right. We've got contention around who will be in the bench back row spot. Jerome Brown, he was close to being a starting number 7 for us here, but also Rory Scott, very big guy for a number 7, very solid over the ball. I think he's got a really big future ahead of him. So those two are going to fight it out for a jersey. Harry, do you want to take us to the next 3?
And I was just going to say, Rory Scott, if he spent, 97 years in the gym, he kind of looks like David Pocock as well. So, if he can fill out the frame, then...
They do call him Poey.
They do. But he's just got to fill out the frame.
Yeah.
Could you have any better comparison? You'd
Absolutely
take the other way, wouldn't you? Look, I got Ryan Lonergan, obviously the 4th ranked half back in Australia. He's pretty clearly going to get some game time. Wouldn't surprise me if he captains a game off the bench. And then Jack Debrasini, we've got in the 22 jersey, just the versatility he offers to cover Noah Lolesio to hopefully give him a little bit of a rest, but also the fact that it means that you can start to shift the rest of the backline pieces around if he's in the outside backs. And then, again, that last jersey is going to be pretty hard to pick. I didn't mention CFS, Falway Sortia in the centre battle. Apparently he's an option there as well. Then you've also got Corey Toole, who we think, after being, just the most outstanding player in sevens last year, I think he actually won the World Sevens Player of the Year award, didn't he? Or was it one of the other Aussies? He was just outrageous. Yeah. We're hoping that he can be one of the few sevens players that immediately transfers that to the 15s arena, and we get to see lots of game time from him. But you also got Ben O'Donnell, another sevens player there, so a bit of depth. I'm going to go Corey Toole.
Yeah, and it is CFS. Speaking of him, we're kind of getting into the key questions here, but he's more of a 13, you'd think, than a 12, and the problem there is Lenny Katau quite clearly the Wallabies 13. So how do you fit him in? But with that, the key question, I think the keyest question, we've already talked about it 3 or 4 times, but it is the Brumbies centres and filling that hole that was Ira Simone, just the big ball runner and ball player. It's going to be hard to find someone who can do both of those things. And it's going to be about who do they want to replace? Like who can do one or the other and what do they want? So
that's a big call. It's going to be about who they want to play in that jersey. I think that's good insight.
What do they want? You know what I was going for. But look, I think we should all say what we think, like who we think will be. Obviously, Len's 13. Nels, who do you think will be starting at 12?
At the start of the year or the end of the year?
Start of the year. Both. Okay, both.
Jeez, it's tough.
We should have said one.
Yeah. Look, we'll just go in general. Look, I think Hudson Crichton is going to get some good game time there, but I also think there's a chance Ollie Sapsford or
Answer the question, mate. Don't just read the list of names.
This guy's lord of sitting on the fence over here. This bloke never will
get Crichton just because I've made an image and he's in the image.
All right, excellent. Harry, who's starting at 12 for you? Who's finishing at 12?
Yeah, it's going to be Crichton.
Starting and finishing?
Yeah.
And just to round it out, just on my recent memory jogging of the 196 centimetre Tamati tour, slot him in at 12, boys. Get him in there. Let's do it. There it is. Him at 12. When Ikitau needs a rest, CFS in at 13. There it is, right there. Now we're talking.
A horrible take I've heard, and that's shifting Len Ikitau into 12. He is the out and out. Yeah. Outside centre for the Wallabies for the next 50 years if he wants it. I'm sure he could play 12. That doesn't mean he should.
No, I'd like to take solace in that Stephen Larkham won't move him out of 13, surely.
Surely.
But no, speaking of people that should be replaced, Andy Muirhead. We just talked about the likes of Corey Toole. Surely we just slot him straight in there, get him started, and he'll just translate. He'll be like the Eteni Nanaisaturo from the Chiefs over here in the Brumbies.
I think one or two things happens this year, Cargie, and that's either Corey Toole takes over Muirhead or Mogg drops out, and then we have maybe Tom Wright slot into fullback, and then we get Corey Toole on the wing. Corey Toole is going to end this year as a starting winger for them. He is not an out-and-out sevens player. He played 1 year of sevens and absolutely dominated because he's a weapon. And hopefully we get the man in some space.
Yeah, I think Corey Toole's dominated some club rugby and things, but look, we need to press on because we're cracking over the hour mark, definitely over the hour mark in this podcast. Harry, we've got a listener question about the Brumbies. Do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, it's obviously slightly off topic, but speaking of Brumbies coaches, Jason Sherman, the Shermanator, says, I think the more interesting question is what happens with McKellar under Eddie Jones. Does this failure under Rennie sink his Test career? And obviously the Brumbies flavour here is, does he end up coming back to work with Stephen Larkham?
No, it's going to be interesting, but I don't really see that happening. I don't know if Eddie Jones is going to throw him out because he seems like quite a hard worker, and that's something that Eddie loves. Plus, he's got the link with some of the other coaches there who all do pretty well in terms of their work around opposition and how smart they are as coaches. I think he will spend a few years under Eddie, whether he stays there or not, or looks offshore. It's hard to know, but I don't think in any way this is the end of him. And I think he's just going to keep pushing forward.
Nice, excellent. I agree with that sentiment, and I think you don't. If anything, you work harder now. You're in the Wallabies job. You're in the top job that you can move to, other than head coach of the Wallabies. And he'll be absolutely frothing at the mouth to learn as much as he can from Eddie. He's got a front row seat to the greatest show in the biz, and he'll be absolutely working harder if anything. So, Harry, do you think the same?
Yeah, I do. I think he's an exceptional set-piece forward coach. I think he's definitely made a mark on the Wallabies, and I think that his standards are probably high enough that Eddie Jones will look to keep him on. We could be wrong, of course, but 5 years is a long time for the next head coaching role. But I think he's probably going to stay around for a while.
He's just got to be prepared to chuck some sausages on the barbecue once they inevitably get delivered. Right. But exactly right. let's speed round through the stocks are rising and stocks are falling. Stocks are rising. We can have one player each, and you just got to rapid fire it off. Nels, go rapid fire.
Corey Toole.
Excellent. That's the fastest from me. I love it. Harry.
Fantastic. It's got to be Nottingham, doesn't it?
How do you?
Has to be. He's probably the biggest mover in the team.
Fantastic.
Tom
And,
Hooper,
look,
Cargie.
and I was just going to go with the prince that was promised, Jack Debrasini. Just his versatility. Look, I mean, he might even find himself starting at fullback. You know what I mean? If Jesse Mogg gets injured, who knows? But
what year was it, mate, that you picked him first as your absolute?
I don't know what you're talking about, Harry. Look, you're an old man. Your memory's fading, mate. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But it's amazing. Talking about players not going back to teams, it's amazing he didn't go back to the Rebels. You know what I mean? He could compete with Carter Gordon for a jersey instead of Wallabies Noah Lolosio. But
I think he felt better of it.
Anyway, and stocks are falling. Look, Andy Muirhead, I can take that, and we can close the whole chapter. I mean, clearly he's got some competition now from Corey Toole and Ben O'Donnell. His days are numbered, frankly, and hopefully he gets off the starting roster. So
I'm gonna say Caden Neville. I said last year, and I was very wrong. In actual fact, his stocks went way up and he started playing a few big games for the Wallabies. But I just can't see him staying in front of Darcy Swain and Nick Frost. I actually dare say that Swain might be the one to drop. But if he can keep his head clean and avoid some cards, I do think it's Swain and Frost.
You're doubling down on Neville here. I love it.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to say Jesse Mogg. He didn't last very long without an injury last year. 33 years old. We were unsure what he was going to do when he turned up. He didn't get the chance to show it. So there might be some hopes that are quite high for him still.
You're harsh. He looked all right.
Yeah, so I think the hopes might be still quite high for him, and that's why your heart's going to be broken. I think he's going to get injured early, or he's going to fade away and not be a starting 15 for them. Even though I do like the bloke, I just don't see him at 33 reigniting his career.
Is it because you guys look the same, or is it just...
You've got too much hair, man. Far too much hair.
All right, excellent. And the Smokies, Corey Toole, we've already talked about him. It's about how many games until he takes Muirhead's jersey. I mean, for me, start him at the start of the season. But anyway, we'll press on.
Nelson's got one as well. Surely, Nelson, come on.
You got Smoky?
Talk about your crush.
Is it Tom Hooper?
Rory Scott. It's got to be Rory Scott.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be Polly, mate.
Yeah.
Pushes to 6 and 8. Rory Scott gets some game time. Nelson.
No, I mean, Rory Scott is...
I mean, Harry's doing a job for you, Nels. What's going on, bro?
He doesn't.
Rory Scott is definitely getting some starts. There is no doubt about it. It's between Tom Hooper and him who starts in that back row, and they might share it throughout the year.
And not to forget Cargie's pick for Brumbies best back of 2023, Tamani
Tua.
Well. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. You heard it here first. All right. Now, with that, let's push on to the sweet stuff. Let's get into a little dessert to round out the podcast tonight.